My name is Ken McKim of Don'tPunishPain.com, and tonight I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the persecution of the chronically ill. Now, I realize that persecution is a strong word, but I really can't think of a better one to describe a growing trend among certain retail pharmacies here in the United States, and that is pharmacists refusing to fill valid pain pill prescriptions. Now, I want you to know that I happen to be acquainted with some very caring and compassionate pharmacists, so I realize that not all of them are like this, but this is happening, and it's happening more frequently. Now, the most disturbing example I can think of to share with you tonight happened to someone who was dying of cancer, and it just blows my mind that most of you probably haven't heard of this story until right now, and I'll link to it below. But basically what happened is she was terminal. She had beaten cancer before, been in remission, then it came back. So the only option her and her husband had was to manage her pain as best they could so that her final months on this planet were as comfortable as possible. However, her pain pill prescription was refused, not once, but multiple times by multiple pharmacies. And you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, how, Ken? How does this happen in a supposedly enlightened society as 21st century America? Well, I think I have it boiled down to two key points, okay? Number one, by and large, society views people with chronic illnesses as being weak, okay? Now, I was really surprised that this happened to someone dying of cancer because really, cancer is recognized by all but the most unfeeling sociopaths as a horrible disease to have. And if you tell someone you have cancer, you are going to be greeted with empathy, sympathy, and a lot of people who want to help you. But with other illnesses like Crohn's or fibromyalgia or ulcerative colitis or complex regional pain syndrome or peripheral neuropathy or interstitial cystitis or pulmonary fibrosis or any of a host of so many other so-called invisible illnesses, those diseases don't seem to have the same legitimacy as cancer. And so they're even more likely to be discriminated against when it comes to pain pill prescriptions. And it's all allowed to happen, like I said, because society views the chronically ill with suspicion and disbelief, both in the legitimacy of their diseases and the pain that those diseases happen to cause. The problem is that when you're talking to people about the chronically ill, they're picturing someone who looks like this. Just some strung out person looking to get high. When in reality, just based on the millions and millions of people who suffer from some form of chronic illness in this country, they're far more likely to look like these people here. The type of people you see at your post office or your grocery store or your neighborhood, or maybe they're your coworkers. But the thing is that we have a very dim view of who the chronically ill are. We completely misrepresent them in our mind, and we need to work on that. And while we're adjusting our picture of who the chronically ill are, we need to include this group of people too, children, especially when we're talking about inflammatory bowel diseases, because more and more children are being diagnosed with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. And that brings me to my second point. Why these pharmacies are allowed to enact such horrible policies that allow innocent people to be hurt is because it's really happening mostly to adults. I couldn't find a single story about a parent who went to a pharmacist with a pain pill prescription for their child's chronic illness and having it refused. Because while these companies are a little evil, they're not stupid. They know what would destroy their bottom line. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine what would happen? We live in a society where a bunch of moms in Florida got so upset about a Breaking Bad action figure being sold to kids at Toys R Us that one of them created a petition, and then thousands of them signed it, and enough signed it that they actually got the action figure pulled from all the Toys R Us stores in the United States. All of them. So if they're going to get that worked up over a doll based on a fictional character, can you imagine what would happen if one of them went to get the pain pill prescription for their little 10-year-old filled and were told no? It's just not going to happen, okay? But these pharmacies are also aware of the double standard in our society, and that while we will absolutely not allow our kids to suffer from any kind of pain, when it comes to adults, whatever. They should really just suck it up, right? It's crazy. We would never, ever let someone tell a 13-year-old with Crohn's disease, a disease that turns healthy bowel tissue like this into an ulcerated mass of near useless tissue like this, a process which is very painful. We would never let someone tell them that it was all in their head, or that they just needed to eat differently and stop whining about the pain that they're feeling. And it's probably not all that bad. We would never let someone tell a child with Crohn's disease those things, but we have no problem telling adults with diseases like Crohn's and CRPS and lupus that it's all in their head and that they just need to make lifestyle changes and maybe drink more tomato juice and eat more kale and do more yoga and everything will be fine. Why is that? Why is the 40-year-old with Crohn's less entitled to pain relief than the 14-year-old with Crohn's? We need America to stop being a nation of hypocrites about pain. Okay? Pain does not discriminate, whether you're 14 or 40, and pharmacies should not be allowed to discriminate when it comes to filling pain pill prescriptions that are legitimate. I know, I get it. I understand that there are bad people out there who will use illegal means to obtain these pills and then use those pills for illegal purposes. I completely understand that. However, the answer to that problem can never be the creation, endorsement, and implementation of policies and systems that allow innocent people to be hurt, ever. What happened to that woman in Vegas was unethical and it was unforgivable. We can't allow this to continue. We have to decide right here and now what kind of a society we are. Are we the kind of society that will let innocent people suffer the most unimaginable pain simply so that we can catch a few who are up to no good? Or are we truly an enlightened nation that are more concerned with treating everybody with the dignity and respect they deserve, and recognizing that all people of all ages are entitled to relief from pain? The fact that this isn't a national topic, that more people aren't talking about this, really just illustrates how far we've fallen as a nation and how much work we have to do to get back to a place of compassion without conditions for the sickest of our citizens. Until next time, I'm Ken McKim. You take care.